The stench of dragons hastens them. Noah frees the young woman from her chains. In my first thumbnails, I had him smash the chains with his axe. It's certainly a quick option, but I wanted to think of some other possibilities. There's an expression that haunts me. Characters are only as smart as their authors. I want him to be smart. He has centuries of experience and knowledge at his disposal. This should mean that he's brilliant, but sadly, his upper limit is me. The best I can do is make him as smart as I'm capable of making him, and in this case, while the woman has been shouting for help, he has no interest in drawing further attention from nearby monsters. He knows that the sharp ping of his axe on metal and stone is likely to travel even further than her screams. So he's gone for a quieter option. On his right arm, he wears a collection of metal stakes. They provide protection from bites and blades, but I like the idea that they're a shipbuilding tool that, over the last century, he's found incredibly useful in other ways. He pulls out 4 of them. One acts as a fulcrum, and with a strip of cloth, he squeezes 2 stakes against the fulcrum, pressing the chain link outwards to its breaking point. A much quieter option that hopefully demonstrates his resourcefulness and intelligence. This was a challenging mechanical operation to portray, so I was very thankful to be able to build it in 3D to keep track of all the moving parts. On to the next panel, which is panel 4 of page 1. The girl is now freed, but it's too late. For the first episode, I used a long-snouted baryonyx walkeri. This time, I wanted to use another favorite of mine, a horned Carnotaurus. As usual, since I'm going to be drawing this creature a lot, I did some studying. I find it helps significantly to start with a loose drawing of the skeleton. Just like with drawing people, having a reasonable understanding of where the bones are helps me to place muscles and keep the overall proportions in check. For these creatures, I've been having a lot of fun designing their patterns. I love speculative paleontology illustrations, where the artists have just gone nuts and taken huge liberties with wild paint jobs. This project is all about transparency, so I'll be honest with you. While many illustrators create incredible patterns that are designed with great thought and care, referencing other natural colors that we can observe, my main goal is to make these creatures look cool. I could make them more intricate, I could make them more reserved, I could do more research to find scientific principles to base my designs on, but that's not this project. My preference is for the dramatic, the recognizable, and to be even more honest, patterns that are simple enough that I can draw them over and over again without going insane. Harkening back to my video about the Nephilim, the color schemes for a lot of the most ferocious dragons references the offspring of the Watchers, with reds and high contrast blacks and whites. This is to imply that some of the bigger creatures may be more than simply natural animals. With the design I liked, it was time to pencil up the next scene. Sculpting the 3D model of the statue head has already paid off. It was a relief to be able to quickly pose it out to use as an underdrawing. In the background, I'm going to have more fallen statues. I'm picturing this hunting ground as a kind of sculpture garden. It'll be a fun chance to play around with some more Art Deco influences, even this far out into the wilderness. This is also the first of many panels that won't have text. I thumbnailed out the whole episode, and then I went back over it with a machete, ruthlessly cutting out any writing that wasn't meaningfully contributing to the storytelling. In a lot of cases, I took what writing I had and thought about ways that I could just show it. In this case, we can see that the woman is freed, we can see that a dragon has arrived, and we can see that Bastion is ready for a fight. I think the reader can collect all the information they need for the narrative to progress. With everything penciled in, I took the opportunity to rearrange things. My goal was to create a bit more depth and put more emphasis on the characters. Now for the inking stage. While we watch this play out, Dead Gods is starting its life as an independent comic. I'm designing it to be episodic so that I can keep adding stories for as long as the inspiration lasts. I work on it in my spare time, chipping away at it whenever I can. In a given week, I can get between 6 to 10 hours in. My goal is to one day be able to devote all of my focus to it, to be able to put in 10 hours a day. My current plan is to build up collections of episodes, and when I've reached a certain point, release the first physical book. More episodes will mean more books, and then baby, you've got a series going. You can be a part of making that a reality. Join my Patreon, get early access to content, higher tier patrons get access to a private server, Dragon tier patrons get their names in the videos and they get to vote on aspects of this project. You can even join for free and keep track of dead gods while you decide what you're up for. You can also help to get the word out. Post the Dead Gods trailer to your social media, or send it to a friend who likes comics, dragons, art, the Bible, or just storytelling in general. Finally, help me peer pressure YouTube's algorithm into promoting this project to more people. Slap all of its buttons, and tell me in the comments about the story project you're planning, or currently working on. Inspiration is contagious. Okay, on to the 5th panel. This is the first instance of spoken dialogue.
It broke new ground!
It was another case of letting the drawing shoulder more of the storytelling burden. Originally, I wrote that Bastion reluctantly followed the Shipwright's command, but dogs are expressive. It's possible to draw a dog that clearly knows what he's supposed to do and isn't very happy about it. He'd way rather be fighting a monster, but after decades of working side by side, Bastion trusts and obeys his master's orders. Forests are challenging to draw. They can look chaotic, but there's an underlying order to them. They also take a lot of patience. I wanted this forest to look like the most plausible place to hide from a dragon that can also be reached in time. So I used some of the 3D plants that I've built and created another mock-up to use for my pencil layer. Apparently, I wasn't recording during the inking stage of the forest, but that's okay. You get the idea. With that, the next 3 panels of page 1 are done. I often use the metaphor of the dripping bathtub. A small drip doesn't seem like much, but turn your back and suddenly you've got a wading pool in your bathroom. While working on this project, every small part feels insignificant. Some nights, I feel like I didn't accomplish much, but piece by piece, it starts to come together. I'm nearing completion of page 1, and before you know it, episode 2 will be complete. And then the next episodes, and suddenly I'll be publishing book 1. But to get there, I have to add another drop. The next video will be introducing an old character that will be receiving a total redesign. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.